Trump's inauguration can't come soon enough, so far as I'm concerned. But let's get back to Britain. Well, at least we'll do something that Keir Starmer appears not to be doing. At the moment, he's in Poland, obviously finding something else to do, seeing as he hasn't been invited to the inauguration. But he also seems far more concerned with goings-on elsewhere in the world than with the country he's supposed to be taking care of. And his whole government appears to be somewhat that way inclined. Famously, there's the Tulip Siddiq business, in which we have here a Treasury Minister and anti-corruption supremo who turns out to have had very close and financial links with a famously corrupt leader of the Bangladeshi government. And then there's the man he appointed as Attorney General, who it turns out has been paid £30,000 to represent Gerry Adams. Gerry Adams, not the IRA leader, who is now looking for financial compensation from the British government. Well, not from the British government so much as the British taxpayer. And of course, there's Philippe Sands, who famously boasted at Cambridge last year about humiliating the United Kingdom in international courts. Now, there's a patriotic Brit, isn't he? So, it appears that these elites seem to be actively working against the interests of the United Kingdom. In fact, irony of ironies, the only people who appear to be working for the good of us Brits, so far as I can see, are Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Who says God doesn't have a sense of humour? I'm Grannyopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So, even though hamstrung by not actually being in office, it looks like Trump has scotched David Lammy's sock puppet deal with a China proxy to hand the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Here it says that the UK government will not sign off a deal to hand back the Chagos Islands until hand back? Oh, for goodness sake. This is The Guardian. I just want to point something out. The Chagos Islands never, ever, ever belonged to Mauritius. Ever. Never in the entire stretch of human history has Mauritius owned the Chagos Islands. So how the Guardian is talking about handing the Chagos Islands back is absolutely, that's not journalism. Well, as we know, it's just activism, isn't it? Here are the Chagos Islands. I don't know how clear this is on your browsers, but there are the Chagos Islands. There's China, there's Africa, there's India, there's the Arabian Peninsula, and there is Iran. They are in a very good strategic position. Well, of course, not to forget Australia and New Zealand, of course. From that point of view, they are a fortress in the middle of a plain. And the and Mauritius is here. 1,500 miles away, so far as I remember. 2,000 miles, it says here. Looks about 2,000. Anyway, whatever. A long way away over an ocean. There is absolutely nothing Mauritius has to do with the Chagos Islands, apart from the fact that at one point, when some Chagosians were removed from the island by the inept socialist British government of Harold Wilson, some of them were settled in Mauritius. That's as far as it goes. So you get people who were settled in Mauritius, and then now the Guardian are talking about handing the Chagos Islands back to Mauritius. I mean, that's as ridiculous as saying that Britain has should have Ukraine because some Ukrainians have been resettled in Britain, or indeed Syrians. Oh, you could go anywhere with that. All right, so yeah, I'm getting somewhat hot under the collar about this, aren't I? Right. Who is pushing this? I don't think it's David Lammy. I think it's people like Philippe Sands, who writes this, again, in The Guardian, that we're citizens of the world and need a global passport. Nationalism is back, he says in 2017, coursing its way through the veins of Europe and other parts of the world. I see it on travels to the Central and Eastern. This is a terrible thing. This is a terrible thing. I see it in the United States, from Charlottesville to Wyoming. I see it here in Britain, an awful disease that's taking over these various countries. The nationalisms there in the Daily Mail and other front page headlines, the ones that describe our judges as enemies of the people. Some idiots are calling judges enemies of the people. Or what about those judges who sentenced Facebook posters to 2 and 3 years in jail for Facebook posts, while the same judges are giving rapists and murderers 2 or 3 years? Are those not enemies of the people? And then he starts quoting Stefan Zweig. I don't think David Lammy is at all involved in this. I think it's people like Keir Starmer and Philippe Sands who are pushing them. I suppose you will have heard the Lee Anderson joke about the honourable member for Tottenham. But if you haven't, it certainly bears repeating here. Lee Anderson said that there are 6,000 villages in, I don't know whether he said in England or in Britain, but let's say he said in Britain. There are 6,000 villages, and if you took the village idiot from every single one of those villages and put them into Tottenham, Lammy would still be the village idiot. OK. And because he's not too bright, easily pushed around. So let's talk about Philippe Sands again. One reason why the Labour government might be keen on settling the issue, that is the Mauritian issue, is the direction from the top. Keir Starmer's close friend, Philippe Sands, KC, King's Counsel, is Mauritius's chief legal advisor and long-time agitator for Mauritius' control of the islands. So this guy here works for Mauritius. Are we suspicious of his motives? OK, and let's go back to the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, KC, another close friend of Keir Starmer. And, as I said, who was paid to represent Gerry Adams. If you don't remember what Gerry Adams looks like, here's a picture of him. Personally, I preferred him when he was Pierce Brosnan. I'm sure some of you will have seen that Jackie Chan film, Foreigner. Well, yeah, I think he looked better as Pierce Brosnan. Now, Gerry Adams is suing the British government for compensation. Right, not the British government, the British taxpayer for compensation for arrest without trial during the Troubles, which started in the late 1960s, when IRA, of which Pierce Brosnan, Gerry Adams, as head of Sinn Féin, had nothing to do with this, of course. The IRA was setting bombs off in pubs, parks, busy shopping centres, and even tried to blow up the British government at one point. But I digress. Herma is also heavily involved in persecuting or prosecuting, you take your pick, British soldiers for war crimes in Afghanistan. If you have the idea that people like Herma and Sands, and for all I know Starmer as well, are working against the UK, well, I'd suggest you're probably right, because these people have a new religion. They believe in an international legal system that supersedes nations. Again, we go back to this article in The Guardian. They dress it up as human rights laws and international conventions, but at base they don't believe in nations, which Sands has called artificial and fake constructs. And it seems that behind what they're doing is that they're trying to undermine the idea of the nation state, starting with this country, the country of which they are citizens. So we're to subsume ourselves into some sort of global legal order, while countries like China and indeed America stick to their nationalism. Anyone want to make any bets on which of those two systems, a national system and a global legal order, could raise a defensive army quicker? Well, I'm not putting my money on the global legal order, quite frankly. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.